I first watched Twin Peaks when I was young, just a child. Watched it with my parents at the time. The TV critics in the UK were hyping this show up as being something, an American import that would change the TV landscape forever, which of course it did. And I was really excited to find out what it was all about. And I remember watching the show and instantly being transported into a different world, feeling like I wanted to be a resident of Twin Peaks. I strongly identified with the characters and their otherness and bizarre traits that they had, and I really felt like it was like nothing I'd ever seen before. There are many reasons why I love Twin Peaks and why it resonated with me when I was young and why it still informs the way I live my life today. Some of those things include David Lynch's surreal storytelling and the way he pulls you into those dreamlike sequences, the score by Badalamenti, and Julie Cruz's hauntingly angelic voice. The mix of comedy and drama, the fact that there can be moments of levity in very serious situations, and ultimately, for me, it's the characters, it's Agent Cooper as a hero, as an ultimate role model who I can follow and learn from. And I find as I age that I'm identifying with other characters and coming back to the show and resonating with them and learning from them. So I'm always going to keep coming back.
Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Why I Love Twin Peaks. And I'm joined again by another friend of mine who's a massive Twin Peaks fan.
Massive.
So I'd like to welcome her now. It's Rebecca. How you doing, Rebecca?
I'm tired, but I'm doing great. That's
Lovely,
all I can say.
lovely. Yeah. So, Rebecca, first thing I have to ask you is when did you first discover Twin Peaks?
Oh, when it first came out, showing my age a bit there. Um, I remember not watching the pilot when the pilot was on TV because everyone was like, "Oh, we got to watch this. We got to watch this," and I'm like, I don't follow the crowd, so to speak. I did watch it afterwards when everybody else was like, "Oh, I didn't like that," and that was it. I had to watch it every Wednesday, and I had to watch it on my own. I was at uni at the time, um, because I needed to focus on it. And then a couple of friends also watched it, and we always got together afterwards and discussed it. It was part of my life. And all my other friends who were like, "Why are you watching that?" knew that that was my thing. I don't know. It just had something different, unique, and special that just hooked me. Oh, sorry, turn that off. So
Were you watching it at uni?
yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I've not really spoken to anyone, I don't think, that's actually watched it at uni. Most people are watching it at home or,
No, I
you
watched
know,
it at uni, and I did one of my papers on it. It became in that year uni just was my life. Just I don't know. I say I've got everything. I've got the videos, that box, I've got the board game, I've got books. I strangely enough, though, the other day was in a restaurant with my daughter, saw a woman in a chevron top, and I was nearly going to ask, "Where'd you get that?" And I just go, "You cannot assume that everybody who wears that has something to do with Twin Peaks." It's wearing the clothes. It was just like, me.
Isn't it funny that when you like something that much and the imagery is so embedded in you that you just see something mundane as you walk down the
Yeah,
street and you immediately go, you think that's Twin Peaks.
yeah.
Any
It is. It's
chevron
just
pattern,
like,
any
if I
red
do see
drapes,
something.
anything.
Could be anything. There was a corn stand in Manchester the other day. Oh, cream corn. And I'm looking at it, it wasn't cream. And I was like, okay, I look like a weirdo. It is. It has those triggers that stay with you, whether it be clothes, whether it be a cushion. Um, there's a hotel in Manchester that I want to go and stay with, even though it's, I think, because they've decorated that one of their rooms in those chevrons and red. Not for, I think they know about Twin Peaks. But I was like, that's a Twin Peaks room. There you go. It's part of life.
I remember coming back from, I was up in London, I think it was back to one of the London fests or something, and I'm walking up a residential street and something caught my eye and I look over at the other side of the road and I cross over to get a better look. And there's like a 1, 2, 3 story for quite small um flats. I think it was for the older people. Like you know
Yeah, like
apartments.
yeah,
And the name of it on the front was Dale Lodge.
absolutely.
So what am I going to think?
Oh yeah, it's a red room in there. Well,
Anyone
I would
else
say it's
walking
the
by, it
Great
wouldn't mean anything,
Northern
you know?
in London. Anytime I mention owls or someone mentions owls in my classroom, teaching business, um, I go, they're not what they seem. People look at me like what's she talking? Oh, I can't even bother to explain it anymore. That's just me. If you ask, I will explain, and they'll look at me going, okay. But like I say, there is one student who has got into it, which I think is great, getting that new generation watching such a unique. So our love for it can go on and on and on.
There was another thing. Someone posted a picture once, and it had like a road, the signs that point to something in the street. Say this way to so and so, and it had an arrow like that, and it said Great Northern Hotel.
Yeah,
There's
Great
some
Northern.
place in the UK or London somewhere that's
Well,
called,
there's one in London, the Great
yeah,
Northern.
the Great Northern.
I remember looking at it going, you have no idea. I think it was when I was there for the one of the Twin Peaks Fest,
Yeah,
and
it
I'm looking up,
was.
going,
Yeah,
that's
someone
the Great
posted a picture of it, and I thought, wow, an arrow, the Great Northern.
Northern.
I
So,
was tempted to
yeah,
find it and walk that way and see what actually was there. I'd like to discover
it
what's
is
at the end of that.
it's near a station, which
Yeah,
Pancras. It is near a station, and
yeah,
yeah, it's a big hotel that says Great Northern. I'm sure I've got a picture of it somewhere. I'll look.
yeah,
You go around taking random pictures. Why say that? It's the Great Northern.
yeah, yeah. Unbelievable, isn't it? Yeah. But so you sat down with a group of people, did you, to watch it at
So I
university
watched it on my own.
on your own? Yeah,
I had to. Nobody was allowed to knock on my door. No one was disturbing me. That was it. Then we got together to say, well, what did we think of it? What do we
yeah.
think it's about this week? Where do we think it's going to go? That
So
was
when you
it.
watched that first one, the very first step of the pilot, what was the reaction from the other people and you next when you got together and spoke about it? That
I
first
think
impression.
we knew it was going to be deeper than what it was because we were studying media studies with business, so it wasn't just oh, let's look at this. It was like, wow, you've got different imagery, you've got very different music, an incredibly different way of, as David Lynch does, filming something. So I think that was also the hook that you think, this is different, this is unique. Um, you could see from that first episode, like I said, we were studying media, those messages, the communication that wasn't obvious that he was trying to tell us things, which did come out as the season went on. So yeah, we oh yes, we was in a bar though later on, but we did get together and discuss um every episode. I couldn't recall now everything we talked about, but I remember the girl, she was called Linda, who we were the hardcore too. I'm not in touch with her anymore. But we just used to talk and talk and talk. And then we had lectures the next day, so we couldn't stay up too late. But yeah, that was part of my uni life, a big part of it.
Not a bad way of spending it, actually, is it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's nice, nice, precious memories you got there.
Oh, definitely. I remember that last episode, I was crying because uni was finishing and it was like all fit together.
Yeah.
All fit together, lovely.
Um, some of the characters now that were in that in the original series, I mean, so we'll get onto the other stuff later, but um, uh, who stood out for you?
Who
Um,
stood out? Um,
that initial run.
Gonna ask me names and you know I'm great with seeing the
I'll
pictures.
help you. I'll try and help you if you need it.
Guy who was thingy the bikes uncle,
Oh, the uncle, Ed.
his wife.
Oh, his wife,
Yeah,
Nadine.
Nadine
Nadine.
was
Yeah.
was nuts.
Yeah.
She was great being nuts. and that whole love triangle with, I can see your face. He was
Oh,
even,
it'll come to me in a minute, even though I'm having the problem now.
yeah. Um,
Ed, Nadine,
Ed,
and Norma.
Norma, that was
Norma.
it, with Norma.
Yeah.
And as much as Nadine was nuts and you felt for, you just wished that Ed and Norma would get together, and how they kept that so quiet, in a sense, from her, although I'm sure she was suspicious. That was a lovely bit, because the relationships in Twin Peaks in general, they were like, some that were like, those two should be together. There were some that were like, that's being very dangerous. And nobody was, other than the doc and his wife, were probably happy. Everybody else was off doing something completely different. Even the sheriff. So yeah, they had a lot of relationships within Twin Peaks. If you look at it like that, you're thinking, actually, there were more than you probably think. That I don't think anyone's really looked at what they all meant and why they were so different.
I mean,
So yeah,
I mean, you were having some, as you rightly said, some were were good and wholesome, it seemed,
yeah,
like the Haywoods and things. But there were but there was also the other darker side of it, I guess,
yeah,
or the dangerous side, treading on dangerous turf, where they were having, double relationships. Do you know what I mean?
yes, yes, which
Like,
quite a few were.
like for instance, Ed
Um,
and Norma were
yeah,
uh, uh,
and Bobby and
Bobby and
Shelley.
Shelley
I
and
mean,
yeah,
when you look at that, that touched on, he was, okay, guy in the truck. Brain's not good. What's he called? Guy in the truck.
Leo,
Shelley's husband.
Leo,
Leo. Leo.
yeah,
There you go. See,
Leo.
really need
Yeah.
a list of names. I could see the faces, couldn't tell you the name.
Again, yeah, that was all going on.
That was going on, and she
They were
was
doing that
so
behind his
scared of
back.
him.
Although I think he was onto it, wasn't he? He seemed
Yeah, he was
I
onto
think
it,
he cottoned on pretty quick to what was going on. Yeah.
and she was scared, and hence how that relationship then ended up with Leo in the wheelchair as he was. But when you think about it, when you're looking at relationships, now we're talking about it, it was also probably that prelude to what Laura was doing. It wasn't necessarily a relationship, but it was of that ilk. So on one end, you had Laura doing what she was doing, and the other end, you got her parents being so wholesome, and all those ranges in between. So I think he was probably Lynch was probably telling us something there, that this is what it is actually about, because we didn't know at that time what she was doing. So maybe he was giving us some hints.
Yeah. Um, some things, led to um destruction and breakup of family and stuff like that. I know that Ben Horn, for instance, I think it was the final episode. Well, all these things were happening, everything was coming into place, as it were. But all these secrets were coming out and everything was being ripped apart. And Ben was trying to say, I'm trying to do the right thing, and claiming that he was Donna's father, I think.
Yeah.
That shattered everything, you know, so much so that Will Hayward, Doc Hayward, who was normally a very, very reasonable guy and a lovely
Yeah.
guy, ends up thumping him one, you know, and things just go crackers
Around
at the end, don't
relationships
they?
and stuff, there was such depth.
Yeah.
Like I say,
At
with
that point, we
Ben.
don't even know Ben's dead, you know. We find out later on in season 3 he isn't, but that was the last time he saw him.
But also, we're talking about Ben and the Chinese lady, the sheriff's one. She's still in a doorknob or somewhere. She's still not come out of that doorknob. We've never answered that. How she got? I still remember that episode going, she's in the knob of that door. Okay, and we were to accept that.
There was that little sound, that sound that you remember that sort of metallic sound you heard
Oh yes, yeah.
in the Great Northern. That was, I think they were kind of implying that was Josie's presence
Oh, right. Oh,
within the
okay.
foundations of the hotel, because it pops up again in season 3. That
I'll have to
sound.
watch for that. Because I remember when I was watching it with my son
Yeah,
again,
you
season
start
three,
they start
going,
bringing things
not
back.
come out.
Yeah. Um.
But
So
yeah,
it
those
can.
relationships all somehow stopped in very strange ways.
Yeah.
Um, except now when you go to season 3, you've got um Ed and Norma together, which was lovely to see. Um, uh, Sheriff Deputy and Lady on Reception.
Wow. You're struggling to.
I am.
Yeah. Lucy.
Because see, teaching's not good for you. All I can tell you exactly about critical path analysis and
Lucy.
stuff
Yeah.
I've been teaching today, but my brain can see things and not remember names. But yeah, um, they ended up together as well. So um,
Yeah. Lucy.
relationships are key throughout.
Yeah. That seems to be the backbone of it when you think about it, doesn't
Yeah.
it? Because
You
often
don't think that until you step back and
you
discuss it.
don't. Yeah.
You just go, okay, there without, there without, there without. But it means something. It was integral to it.
Yeah. Because what they say, you remember Hawk when Hawk was having that chat with Cooper in the Roadhouse, they were having a little bit of downtime,
Yeah.
and he starts talking about the lodges and things like that. There's darkness here, there's this, that, and the other, and it does seem to go back to relationships because there's two key things he says: fear and love open the door to to get into this place.
Yeah.
So they're the two emotions that seem to have the most power, as it were.
We probably didn't, we
Yeah,
probably, when watching it those first few times, looked at the fear element and looking back on it, it had a lot of the love element too. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna have to watch them again. I wish I just had time, then write down all their names and memorize the names next to the faces. I could see all the faces. But yeah, so yeah, and then in season 3, again, there was relationships.
yes, there were. There were relationships, not all great ones, by the way,
Oh,
but there
great
were. Yeah,
ones.
you know.
Like I say, I still remember that first episode of season 3 where they got together, that couple, and ended up being sliced by whatever it was that came out of the box.
That was yeah, that was pretty crazy. That was, wasn't
That was like, welcome back to Twin Peaks. Going, oh, okay, there we go.
it?
Not expected that.
No, I don't think anyone did really.
Nope. It was
Absolutely
like,
massacred them, didn't it? Whatever it was.
yeah, that's the word. Whatever it was.
Yeah,
Um,
it was like a rickshaw thing.
yeah,
Just like,
sliced them.
like,
Oh.
it's just just plowing into them. It was crazy. That was.
And they were only in for that one episode, but it was so memorable.
Yeah,
Um, but again, relationships.
yeah.
And,
They only had a brief one, sadly.
yeah, they did. Only
A bit
brief
of
life.
more of a flirtatious thing, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They didn't really get time to develop a relationship because they didn't live long enough, some
No,
sadly.
they didn't.
For that
Something
to
killed them.
happen, but
Very,
they
very,
had a terrible ending. Yeah,
very terrible ending.
but when I look back on those scenes, though, that the young guy, that couple you just spoke about, that were looking at the glass box,
Yeah.
the young guy, his job was just to sit there,
Watching.
change a few batteries now and again, and just sit and watch this box. When I look, it's only now when you look back on it, you start thinking about, is there an underlying message going on here? Is that about television? The mundanity of just sitting there watching crap on television. You do wonder
He
if he's feeding that through subliminally, you know?
he probably
Mm.
is, to be honest, having only watched season 3 once. Um, I do need to revisit it because I think a lot of the messages in season 3 were subliminal. Because on face value, what the heck was it telling you? Sorry. You've got one Cooper, you've got another Cooper, you've got everything going on, but it will have that underlying thing that we probably haven't even discovered or even started to discover yet. So yeah, I'm gonna have to rewatch it when I find time. Don't become teacher, folks. It's hard work.
Yeah, I liked all that. There were. I mean, it's whatever you get out of it, really, isn't it? I suppose that
It
you know,
is.
you can read into anything, can't you, if you want to, as deep as you want, or as
Yeah,
little as you
exactly.
want.
And that is, in a sense, well,
You know,
television. Um, that those hidden messages, if you want to, otherwise you can be mindless, watch something on there and go, okay, that was okay. But I think most people who create that, and especially Lynch, always have a message. Because now when we look back at season 1 and 2, there were so many messages that we didn't see the first time around. And he would not have created season 3 without thinking, there's something more they're going to discover in years to come, which we haven't even touched on yet.
I mean, even that I'll see you again in 25 years. That
Yes.
kind of
Yeah.
landed right, didn't it?
Oh, well, it landed perfectly,
But
even though
again,
he didn't want it to be cancelled at the time.
yeah. But
That's
I don't seriously,
exactly, you know,
but I don't
25 years
seriously,
later.
I don't seriously think that that he anyway they would know that they'd
Love
be
that. I mean, I remember seeing,
doing
like
it
I said,
25 years later, you know.
the longevity of it. It's always been a unique thing to me. And when I found about the festivals, I was like, oh, there's more of me. I'm going. It's brilliant. Um, then I remember when season 3 came out, they put on Sky season 1 and 2, and I even took a picture of it. Thought I would never in my years would think mainstream Sky would have Twin Peaks on it. It was even on the news that it was coming back. And I'm thinking, all us who were like thinking we were different, there is a lot of us who are different and unique, but love Twin Peaks in all its glory, whether it's gruesome or wholesome. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I agree on that. And it had all that, didn't it? And more.
It did.
You know,
And more.
all those elements in every episode. Well, not every episode, but you
Not
know,
every
there was
episode.
moments where that was like very, very forthright, you know, those horrific moments, and then there'd be some really light-hearted
Really
moments.
like absolutely. I think, season 2 had a lot of humor in it.
Yeah.
Um, the drapes, you must get the drapes up, and there was just so much humor that I would say diffused the weirdness of it, but the weirdness was always there. But I made for really good watching. Deputy crying at every time, and yeah, the chef getting annoyed with him in the end. It was just like, okay, that's what he does. That's his thing. He cries. But yeah, it had humor, it had love, it had fear, it had anger, and it had gruesome deaths. Definitely in season 3.
Oh, there's some gruesome stuff. Yeah. Um, and so yeah, not necessarily graphically horrific, you know, blood and guts everywhere. Apart from that, I think probably
First
the
one.
most violent one was that one you spoke about with the glass
Yeah,
box. But I mean, in the original series, you didn't see too much gore or anything,
no.
but you certainly saw they certainly still conveyed violence
It
quite
did, because when they
graphically.
went back
Yeah,
to the train car,
yeah,
um, that scene had a lot of blood.
yeah.
So you knew violence had happened there. Okay, so he may not have shown it as vividly in episode 1 of season 3, but it was there. And throughout, the underlying violence again on that spectrum of love and fear, which I think is a great one to put it, because all that love there, all that fear was there within all the relationships and within the story. So we find out, that her dad is Bob. I remember Bob's name. I'll never forget Bob's name.
Bob
Yeah.
left a massive impression, didn't he, on people? Just
Oh, didn't he just, and
no,
considering his story was the carpenter on it, and he was never supposed to be
yeah,
Bob. Um, he was the best Bob he could have been.
Yeah.
Just,
He was literally a happy accident because that
yeah.
character wasn't even created at the time.
And he
You
was
know,
like,
that just happened. You know, it was
yeah.
one of those
And then you
beautiful
think that
moments.
just happened, and it was so integral to it,
Mm.
how much they brought it in, and it gave that alter, I won't say ego, but that other personality. I mean, we still don't know what is Bob, who is Bob. Even in season 3, that we probably think, okay, Bob's got something to do with this weird stuff that's happening. Still don't know. So, at the end of season 3, where it goes to darkness, there was still so many questions that can be answered. Okay? I think not necessarily about the characters that we have now. Sadly, a lot of them passed away. It's those characters like Bob. What the heck is happening in the Red Room? Why is it there? That's never been answered. What is this alternate world that no one has said what it is? We've just been taken. Okay, that's the Red Room. That's got chevrons in it. We'll have that, and you get stuck in it, and you come back out of it. No one knows why it's there, and that I would love to see that answered.
Watching back on some of Lynch's movies,
Mm.
there's elements of that. I think I was watching an interview recently with Lynch. I don't mean the interview was recent, but
Yeah, you
it was
watched
a
it.
few
Yeah.
years old. But someone asked a question, which was quite intriguing to me. Is his films and his TV all one universe? Are they
Mm.
all linked, or are they completely separate and, worlds? He said they were separate worlds, but there are
Oh, there was some
some
serious
comparisons.
comparisons.
Did you see the chevron floor in Eraserhead?
See, Eraserhead reminds me a lot of season 3.
Yeah,
That cinematographic
yeah,
way that's done it.
yeah,
And you had the Good Witch in the end
yeah.
of
Wild at Heart, yeah.
that Wild at Heart, which is also in it. So some of them may definitely June. That wasn't June, was his. Blue Velvet. I even think that probably is. So he may say it's a different universe, but they're all linked, and there was some way other than the Diary of Lorna Palmer that Lynch decided to put it all together. So yeah,
This bit in Lost Highway where you got Bill Pullman and you've got like the red kind of curtain thing again, and you can see him walking into darkness kind of thing. Same thing happens with Laura Dern in An Empire.
yeah,
And you wonder if they just turn a corner and come out, they're in the Red Room.
a Doom,
You could do
exactly.
so
I
easily,
mean,
just
I
so
think
easily doing.
Lynch would have value in taking aspects of all his movies and putting it together.
Yeah.
Hopefully before he passes on, to round up and making sure it's all boxed off and answering the questions from all the movies, they could all come together. So yeah, that'd be great. Oh yeah, he needs to do that. Someone needs to tell him.
I like to think of it like that. I like to think I like to think they're all joined in a way.
Yes, yeah. Well, they have aspects of each in them.
They do. Yeah.
So sorry, yeah. My daughter. That yeah, they are all intrinsically linked, even if we didn't think they were, and he doesn't think they are.
Yeah, isn't it fascinating if someone could do like an edit or something
Yeah, absolutely, and put that aspect,
and show them all the characters kind of like connecting to one another,
yes,
and
this, or even you could even do a book on it, saying, well,
yeah,
this one here, they've got this in common, this links here, and then you could put it all together. Because
yeah.
someone, I am sure, must have time to dissect all those movies and Twin Peaks
Oh yeah.
in its entirety. But you'd have to watch them all continuously in order to identify those links.
I wouldn't be clever enough to be able to write anything down like that and join the dots like that. That would be a mammoth task
Yeah, it would
for
be a
anyone,
mammoth
really.
task. Absolutely, be a
You know,
project for a couple of
it'd be like a
years.
video, like 10-part video essay type thing, wouldn't it? Or something like
Yeah,
on YouTube, that kind of thing. because there's so much to go
So
through,
much, yeah.
you
It
know.
would be, like I say, it would be a mammoth task, but somebody out there want to do that?
Someone will be able to do it. I know they
I
will.
haven't
Yeah.
got time to do that. I'd love to do it. I ain't got time.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so we had a lot of interesting thing was music is a huge part of
Massive.
Lynch's work, as we know, not more so than in Twin Peaks as well. Um, and all those Roadhouse performances he got in season three, which was another kind of new thing he did,
It was,
because
yeah.
we didn't get that much music. We had music always,
It
but
was
not
always
to
had
that
music.
degree.
It was a key
Not
part.
every episode, at the end and that kind with a one
No, that
background.
was very different having
Yeah,
it. And they were all different
they
bands
were. Yeah,
playing a different song at the end of each
yeah.
episode. He hasn't really made much of that. I need to go back and have a listen to them. Some of them were really good. Couldn't tell you which ones they were. It's been a while. But yeah, music was a key part, and he brought that out more. Well, he brought the Roadhouse into it much more. Because music was always key in the first two. You could hear a couple of chords of that opening titles. You knew what you were watching, even if you didn't have to see anything. Like I said, and I love the song Nightingale. Um, but he did definitely step that up by putting music, because there's diegesic and non-diegesic. Diegesic is you can see it, and non-diegesic is it's in the background. He brought it forward into that diegesic, so you can see where that music's coming on, and integrated it within each episode. Yeah, it's great. He did that. And really need, I could say, I always say this, I need to do these things and I never have time. But music is, I love music, so I'll see if it's available on Spotify. There are other services available.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah, there was some. I mean, there was some interesting stuff. I mean, you had like also you had that. We don't really get to know anything about this character. He just pops up and introduces the acts.
Yeah.
The MC,
See, yeah,
right? Um, Ladies and gentlemen,
here
the
is.
Nine Inch
Yeah.
Nails,
Yeah.
that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
he just was there every night introducing it. And I
Yeah,
think it took me a few episodes to realize that was going to be a thing.
yeah.
Um, but I like that because one, you knew it was coming to an end, because some of those episodes, like episode 8, was a bit like, okay, I need to take a break now. Um, but no, music, yeah, he did bring it to much more the forefront of the episodes than they had been a part of it in the past. But no, I love music.
And some, I mean, the sound that do you have the soundtrack albums and all that? Do you have all that stuff?
I have the ones from season 1 and 2 that one.
Yeah,
I have it
yeah.
somewhere on vinyl.
Ah, nice.
I have it on CD. I have downloaded it on iTunes, so I have it on my phone. I have it everywhere, but I haven't. Like I said, I must download season 3 and have another listen to that, because
Yeah.
they were different music. I think I probably listened more to the season 1 and 2, because that is all those happy memories of being at uni and watching it and it being so unique. Um, and it always makes me smile when I listen to them.
I mean, I loved the jazz music to it. It was a kind of hypnotic, wasn't it? It had a, a certain edge to it. It was jazz, but there was something unique. It was kind of not quite that, if
Well,
you know what I
it's
mean.
like
It had its own kind of feeling to it. Yeah, it's interesting.
all his music, whether it was in Twin Peaks, in any episodes, that word again, unique. It had something different to it that made it going, yeah, that fits with that. Because certain music would not fit in Twin Peaks at all.
I loved it. It really is. It's its own world itself, isn't it? Really, the music.
Oh, the music
Um,
is, yeah,
you know,
absolutely. So it's been sampled in dance tracks, and it's, yeah, it's so unique that, like I say, people are using it for different things.
yeah.
Yeah, I love that dance track.
Um, so, um, at the end of season three, um, that final episode, which was kind of quite bonkers, you know.
Yes, as
Um,
was the whole
some
season.
people were struggling with the 10 or 15 minute ending of them just driving along and not saying anything to one another.
Yes,
And people were going, where the hell is this going to,
gonna
how
go.
the hell is this going to resolve? You know?
That's the thing, it didn't.
And it did, well, well, I don't know. Is it open-ended? That
Like I
last shot,
say,
where could it have, where do you think it could have gone, Rebecca, had it gone on further to another season?
like I
What do you think
say, if it would look at like why were they crossing over? Why were all these spirits there? Why were people coming in and out of the Red Room? What is this alternate universe? I think if he had, please do go to season 4. Um, I would hope it would answer the unanswered questions. Not we know where Laura is, we know all that happened, but what we still don't know, where is Bob? Why is that bedroom there? Why do they speak backwards? You know, is that the real and we're the alternate universe to them? It'd be about exploring that in much more depth if he did season 4, please. Preferably not in the middle of the night now, though. So yeah, I would love to see the weirdness explored but answered. Yeah.
What do you think of all that thing? I noticed in season 3, it was more apparent that there was something off.
Yes.
There was, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Glitches in time. There was glitches going on. You know, everything was kind of glitchy.
Yeah.
Characters kind
So
of glitched or blinked kind of in a weird way, like Dougie Coop did this kind of Carrie Page did the same thing. There was this slow, they did this kind of blink thing that they were just kind of out, not quite in sync with things.
yeah, that's why
Um,
I think the whole is it what is the connection between the two worlds is what I would hope a season 4 would answer because it is very unanswered. You know, we know what the characters are doing, we know where they are. We don't know why they moved backwards and forwards. Why was he in there for 25 years? We still actually don't know why that length of time. You know, see you in 25 years, great. Why? So many unanswered questions. That would be
I was
great.
noticing things like at the end of the with the diner, and they did the flip of the diner, you know, that it was from a different angle and it was playing out differently from one end of the diner to the other. The
Oh
time
God,
thing.
yes,
There was this
yes.
weird
Well,
like time, yeah, all sorts of weird.
and it is all about time.
It is.
Um,
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
concept of time, what the time is in the Red Room, what the time is in this world. So yeah, and there's so much that could be answered in a season 4, which, you know, that and put together all the other movies and link it all together. So he's got a lot of work to do.
Have you got enough time though?
Well, I hope so.
You know, because let's face it, to get the even season 3 off the ground took about 5 or 6 years.
Yes, yeah.
It's not a slow process from script to screen, that's for sure. Yeah.
Hopefully somebody would take his genius, maybe not do it in the same eccentric way that he'd do it, but I think there's value in taking it further if sadly he wasn't around to do it, but definitely needs to take it further.
It would be lovely. I mean, we're all hoping that he will do something new,
Yeah.
whether it's Twin Peaks or not, whether it's just a new movie, whether it's a new TV series, of something, a different idea altogether. Um, but I don't know if he's just happy in his house painting,
Yeah, I'm talking about the weather.
yeah, that kind of thing, you know, then you know, or more power to
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, I'm about to say I like watching him about the weather, especially during the pandemic. He
I
was
mean, given the choice, I think I don't know. It's quite an it's not a bad life to have where you don't have to venture outside the house
no,
because I don't like the world out there much anyway
I don't
at
think
the
many
best of
people
times.
do.
So it you had the choice of just having everything there and you can just stay and do your art or whatever, you're happy.
Yes. Yeah.
I think
Happiness is
that's,
more important
you know,
than definitely happiness is
to me,
more.
that would be a lovely scenario. I wouldn't complain about
No,
that. I'd like to
staying
be
all the
him.
time.
Yeah, you know.
Excellent. No, yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. I've certain people are pining for season four. Um, would you be happy if we never got one? I mean, are you okay with that? Or
I am okay with that because I didn't actually think we'd get season three.
yeah, true. Yeah,
So the fact that we can discuss and go, I'd like this answer, I'd like this answer. We survived 25 years without the answer from the first one. Yeah, I'll be okay. We have so much within those first, especially on season three, to still dissect. It may give us the answers. We don't know. I mean, I have not looked at it too in depth at all. I'd like one. Um, I'd like one to the next generation, like my son can carry on watching it. But yeah, I'd be okay if it wasn't, because like I say, we got season three, which was great.
if Lynch wouldn't, if it were to come back, say, but say it was like 10 years time or something like that, and say the passing of time can be cruel. Um, say the original creators, as it
Mm.
were not there to make it anymore. Um, in the current TV world, because I don't watch a great deal. I don't know about you. So I don't know who the good creatives are that the younger team that are coming up now that you feel would fit that kind of thing to write and produce a new Twin Peaks version.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, television as a thing is very, very dissected, very liquidated. I think that's why, because you've got so many different channels now, you've got so many different genres that you could do, and it doesn't have the kudos and probably experience because it has been diluted so much. Don't know who would come along and do it. It would have to be that person would have to be talking to people like Spooner Sutherland and Lynch now to be trained to be that person. They may well be doing that. We don't know. But yeah, it would have to be somebody who was known to them and who knew them to carry that mantle. A very important mantle.
I don't know if his children would get involved in it, like Jen
And
Lynch,
yeah,
or his sons, or um, Riley and Austin, um, because they've worked in the industry.
yeah. I
They've
mean,
done,
Jen would probably be everyone's
yeah.
hope to carry on. Absolutely. But you don't know. They may have discussed with him that that's it. It's left. Or it's not part of the Lynch family. It would be, as much as we could sit here and speculate, it would be their decision. Absolutely their decision.
It is, and you can't force anything like that. If they don't want to do it, they don't want to do it. There's nothing in the world is going to make that
Nothing in the world, no. Like I say,
will
that's why.
make us change his mind. That's for sure.
Yeah. So
Because
happy
Lynch
with
is
season.
very kind of set in his ways, I think.
Yeah.
And if the right things don't come along or the right ideas don't come along, then he's not going to be prepared to want to put the
Yeah.
work in because it takes, as I mentioned before, I mean, from the idea to the inception, takes years of commitment. This ain't a quick like turnaround of,
Yeah.
it just doesn't work like that. So you really got to be in the right zone, have the right idea, and he's got to have the right um
Team.
what's the word
Team, ideas, creativity,
passion, I suppose, as
passion.
well, to want to take it all the way through, Yeah.
So that no, I'm happy. We got season three. That's still going to give us quite a bit to
Oh yeah.
look at.
Yeah. I get, there's loads of, I mean, I'm only recently going through it again slowly. I'm watching a couple of episodes at a time again, because I'm picking up of things like you do with the original, where you see things, I don't remember that, or,
Oh, absolutely.
oh,
You need to watch.
that's what they were trying to say there, or,
Yeah, you
you
would be
know,
needing
so
to
you're
watch
still
more.
finding things all the time. You're always finding new things.
So, like I say, happy with season 3. We'll find new things when I get around to watching it. We get season 4. Very happy. So I just love Twin Peaks. Full stop. There you go.
Yeah. Um, but when you saw Fire Walk with Me, did
At the
you
cinema.
you
Yeah.
went to the cinema? Yeah, there you see. Yeah, yeah. I didn't. You did. That's great. And a number of people I know went to see it at the first time as well, which is quite amazing, really. Um, where did you see it? Can you remember where you were, what cinema you were at, or and was it well attended?
It
Can you
was
remember
well,
that?
it was busy,
Ah, good, good.
really
Yeah,
busy. Um, I remember sitting there thinking, oh, popular. Not, yeah, because I think they underestimated how popular Twin Peaks is still. Um, and I do remember coming out thinking, I'll really have to watch that again, which I haven't had the chance to do because when you're on a big screen, it was more powerful. And it was a bit like when we went to the festivals where we could watch the pilot episode on that big screen. The emotion was more because it was bigger. And I remember thinking the cinema looked red. That's all I can remember thinking. Everything was red. Um, but and I came out thinking, like you do when you watch it once. And I think people who went to see it thinking they're going to get answers because it's a prequel did not get them at all. But it was an experience to see that in the cinema.
imagine on the big screen. It must have been pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, yeah, that must have been quite something. Did people were people like reacting to certain things like that? Sort of the strong stuff in it. Were people gasping? Were people? Could you hear kind of
A
any?
bit, but it was a lot quieter, I think, because people were so trying to get more out of it than you can in one simple movie. Well, not simple movie, in that time frame that you're sat in that cinema. So you could actually feel the concentration of people because you were like, okay, what's going on? What's going on? What's going to answer? Um, and yes, a few gas and stuff, but it was that you came out questioning, going, okay, I need to watch that again. So but it was good to see it there. Which again, I have that. I have a movie poster, I think, of that somewhere in the house as well. I have a whole big Twin Peaks box which I really need to go through one day with all my memorabilia.
I love the movie. I love the movie poster of that. Is it the one with you mean with Laura with the
Yes.
locket, yeah,
Yeah, the
and the
red
fire
poster.
on it?
Yeah.
That's a really lovely. I really do like that poster. It's a great image. Yeah, yeah. Um, I haven't got a lot of memorabilia or anything like that, really, apart from having like just a series box sets. That's about my limit, really.
Oh, I
Mm.
have loads.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially if you just see anything and being at the festivals as well gave me the opportunity to get so much more. I've got a painting that was done on one of them, which will be on the wall when I get the house painted. Um, yes, I have a box of memorabilia. Like I say, the games in there, the videos are in there, the DVDs are in there, which are thankfully signed by quite a few. It's a very precious box. Very precious.
That's one thing I would never ever give away is my box sets because they're signed, you know.
Yeah, signed.
From
Signed.
the first season one. You remember the first season box set that come
Yeah.
out? That lovely open the green, all the
Yes.
green. I got that
Well, I've
signed.
got that signed. Yeah.
I've got the gold box set
The
front
gold
signed,
one. Yeah, I've
and I
got
got the
that.
season three signed. You know, I would never ever part with them. Never. There's certain things I will never ever part with because they're sentimental.
They
Plus the
are
fact they're
absolutely.
dedicated to my name, so they only mean something to me anyway, personally, not to
Yeah.
someone else.
My son will get mine,
Yeah.
and hopefully he would. Well, he will enjoy it as much as I have. I know.
Ah, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That reminds me. When did you get your kids to watch it? When
Probably
did
when
you
they were a bit too
start
young.
introducing it to them? Because your son's
Um,
into it, your daughter not so much, is that right? Or
yeah, she
yeah.
enjoyed it but didn't get into it, whereas my son was like, yes, I love this. And he's come to a festival with me, and he sat and watched season 3 with me. Um, he tried to get his friends into it as well, but they were a bit like, "What is this?" But he did show them episode 8 first, which I said that's not wise. Start with season 1, the pilot, then see if you can don't shock them with season 3. But yeah, it's part of us now.
What did he make of it all when he first watched it?
He
I
loved
mean,
it, but he understood.
how did you ease him into it? How did you sort of
Well,
introduce
because
him?
I've always talked about it,
Yeah.
and I remember seeing Cal McLaughlin saying, "Don't show it to anyone till they're 14." I think Cameron was 14, and he was probably, yeah, she'll have been younger. And I thought, right, now's the time. It was one of them things that I want to watch it again, watch it with me. So they did, and that's how it was like. I don't know, did they get a choice? Probably not. You need to watch what I have been talking about. Yeah. So yeah, they did watch it.
And what did he like about the original? I mean, did you showed it in sequence to him? Did you show
Oh
like
yeah, I showed it in sequence.
the
Yeah.
first two? Did you show Five Walk with Me
He
after
hasn't
that
seen
one?
Firewall with me yet.
Ah,
So he's seen the first 2 and then went into season 3
okay.
as
Yeah.
it came out. Um, I could say it's hard to say what he took from it, because like everyone's individual in like knowing what they love. But he did feel the uniqueness and the passion for it that I have, which I just thought was perfect. So yeah.
And what was his feelings when he went to his first festival?
It
Was
was
he
a bit
nervous?
overwhelmed, I
Yeah.
think. But
Yeah.
I think it was great to be with like-minded people that like a program that he likes and that I like. Um, and meeting the stars that were there that time. Yeah, he did. It was a precious time for him to just to see that go, oh, I've seen that person on telly. That's in that great show. Oh, that person's right here. So yeah, loved it.
Did he chat with a lot of fellow fans there? Was he having good conversations and was he
He
quite open like
he
that?
he did with the ones that I knew. So he did chat a lot as our little group. I think he was like a bit like, I don't know these people. I'm not just going to just go and talk. But he did envelop himself in it and did enjoy it so much. It was great to take him there.
I'm glad he got to experience that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's great.
I am too.
Because that opens up a completely different world for him.
Yeah,
It's okay watching it like on the screen. You're divorced from it, as it were.
yeah,
You know, you're watching the fiction on screen, but when you actually go there and you're among people that actually have the same passion or interest of something, of a you know, and you're in that little world for a couple of days or so,
yeah. It
and
is. It's a different world.
you're meeting the people that were the creatives behind it, or the behind the camera or in front of it, it takes on a very different meaning altogether,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
and
Different
the fact
experience.
that they had them, and the fact that people wanted them, and um, yeah, it's great to go. Miss them.
Uh, awesome stuff. Yeah. So, um, Rebecca, I have one more question for you.
Okay.
Okay. Which I always sort of wrap these episodes up with. So I've got to ask you,
Hmm.
Rebecca, why do you love Twin Peaks?
Its uniqueness, its differentness, probably not a word, um, the depth of it, the characters, the music. It's just something that spoke to me, I think, because it was so unique, and I will always love it. So, yeah.
That's great. Um, so with that, thank you so much, Rebecca, for joining me. It's
Pleasure.
been a pleasure to talk to you. It really has.
Even though I couldn't remember the names of everyone, but you know, I
No,
can still see them.
yeah, that's the thing. That's okay. Yeah. Well, I hope I helped you, not gave you helped you along a wee bit with some names there. I mean, even
Yeah.
I was struggling sometimes as well. I
You
start
need a
getting
dictionary.
a bit of brain fog, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, thanks a lot, Rebecca.
My pleasure.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
And thank you guys for watching again, of course. And we'll see you we will be back with another episode. Until next time, guys, I'll leave you with these immortal words. We'll see you in the trees.